doesn't show that we're streaming. It didn't turn red.
It says streaming.
Oh, it says streaming. Okay, good. Now it does. It had a delay.
The technology.
Yes, it's crazy. Okay, we are recording too, except that it's also got a delay. There we go. So, Marsh, what a day of celebration.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I've been all morning. I started, well, first, you know, before the premiere of the book, before the release of a book, there's so much enthusiasm and so much excitement that I think it was 5 a.m. before I went to sleep. Honestly, I got to tell you the truth.
And then I started texting you.
Yeah, and then I was up at 7, I think, or 6:30 or 7, and 8 o'clock I started watching these amazing authors speak with you about their wisdom, their inspiration, their truths, their teachings. And yeah, I'm fired up, more fired up.
It's so exciting. And, you know, for those listening, be sure and pick up a copy of this Amazing Woman Rise. It is incredible. And we made it easy for you with all the little links across the bottom there that allow you to take advantage of this. So, Marsh, so you're the heart and soul behind this big project. Where did that inspiration come from?
Oh, it's such a big story. You know, I always try to figure out where to jump in the story. What comes to mind as we're speaking, and I say this many times to my clients and in the groups, that when I was looking for my calling, when I was looking for what is it I'm here to do, what is it I'm here to create, and the message came to me when I was in Teotihuacan, Mexico with Don Miguel Ruiz, and I had just walked the Pyramid of the Sun, which is a very dynamic experience. Any of you that have walked a pyramid, you know that you're up very, very high, and then we circled around very slowly. And I had no clarity that I could imagine. Anyway, I wasn't picking up anything. But when my feet hit the ground, I heard, "Create a day on which all women honor themselves."
Oh, wow.
Create a day on which all women honor themselves. And I said, as Marsh, very typical of Marsh, I spoke back and said, how in the world would I ever do anything like that? And Spirit spoke again very clearly to me and said, you've been prepared your entire life to do exactly that. And I believe that that's the case, not just for me, but I believe it's the case for all of us. When we look at answering a calling, or how am I called to lead, or how am I here to serve? The first question is, how have I been equipped? How have I been prepared? And the heart and soul of the Amazing Woman movement began shortly after that by really following the heartbeat of that message. Create a day on which all women honor themselves. And to be absolutely honest with you, when I started, Becky, I didn't know what that was, to honor oneself.
No, I think there's most of us women are not equipped to
this was, I'd like to say that I was like all fired up and had all this, wisdom moving through me immediately. But no, the fact was, my role was to investigate, study, learn, integrate, find the alignment, and allow myself slowly, one step at a time, to let go and allow the energy of that informed sense of purpose to really guide me in every step that I've taken, including the writing of the books, and especially the Amazing Woman Rise book, because it speaks to the infinite power of the feminine heart. And I believe that that's ultimately, when it comes to honoring oneself, I believe that igniting the infinite power of your feminine heart, man or woman, that's what we're talking about.
Yes, absolutely. So the feminine heart, most of us have grown up in an environment where we kind of have to, we're really in a man's world, and we're supposed to behave in a man's world in a certain way. And yet I really don't think that men need us to behave in that way in the beginning.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think it's about a man's world.
No.
I think it's about practicing the art of moving from responding through stress or
Mm,
fear or sense of
absolutely.
lack, sense of responding to a survival that we've been had ingrained in us, and
Hmm.
moving from that response of survival. And men are responding through these same things, through
Absolutely.
fear, and men and women. It's not just, we don't have the, you know, the we don't own that role in the world to clear that. It's all of us have this pattern, or at least everyone that I've ever encountered has this pattern, and especially myself, I will speak, is that the pattern of responding through survival. And what I believe we're in right now is a tremendous shift from
Absolutely.
that sense of survival and into a sense of stunning clarity, stunning awareness, stunning investments of our creativity, stunning investments of our heart and our soul and our spirit, everything that the feminine heart stands for. And I truly believe that that's what the shift is. If we can find a path, and we are and we will, is moving from that, I've got to make it happen. I'm fearful that it won't happen. I feel like I'm lacked. I feel like I'm not supported. I feel like I don't know enough. I feel like I'm not prepared. All of
Not
those
good
inner
enough. All
dialogues,
stuff.
all of that. And I mean, probably could talk all day just on that inner dialogue, that inner environment that we have been conditioned to believe to be real. And what I'm saying, what I know, is that all of that is a lie, and that the truth is there is a radiance that moves through us. There is a stunning radiance of creativity that moves through us. And every single one of us, when we find the ability to let go and allow that radiance to inform our actions, that's when we come into alignment. That's when we can make the difference in our lives, and difference in our communities, and difference in the world.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And, I was in your class last night and you asked the question, how would an amazing woman think? And how would she act? And how would she feel? And, those questions give you so much to ponder on.
I have chills even as you're asking that. It's like those are they sound so simple, but they're so profound when we pause and we ask ourselves, what is it? How would I, as the amazing woman I am, because we already are the amazing woman, it's not becoming it, how would she think? What decision would she make? What action would she take?
Right.
How would she nurture herself? How would she nurture her own creativity? How would she care for her own energy field? How would she show up in the world boldly and fully expressed? What is that? These are great questions. When we begin to define that, Becky, I truly believe that when we define those questions, we really come closer and closer to being in alignment. And when we're in alignment in that way, we truly are unstoppable.
We are totally unstoppable. And it's
Unstoppable.
so fascinating to know that. And you ask the questions, how would I think? How would I feel? How would I act? What would this really entail? And it really makes you stop and ponder. But so many of us, we've grown up with these feelings of low self-worth and low self-esteem. And yet, as we step away from that and step into who we truly are, it becomes that ripple effect out to the world. It leaves an example for those young women following us, that maybe they
Hmm.
won't stay in that path for nearly as long as
Yeah,
the
we're the
rest
mirrors, we're the reflection. It reminds me that
of
every
us.
generation, igniting the power of the feminine heart is not new.
No, it is not.
Every generation has had their own way of expressing the infinite power of the feminine heart. But also, every generation has to find their own way to expressing it.
Absolutely.
So the question would be, how are we given the role, given the opportunity, given the potentials to carve a new path in our lifeline, our lifetimes? How are we given that path to create that shift? And then through that shift, how will that impact the next generation? And then the next generation, will be given the same task. Ignite the power of the feminine heart, but in the new way.
Right.
Take everything they've learned from us, just like we did. We've taken everything we've learned from those that have come before us, and then we've taken it to the next level, or I believe so. I believe we are. And I see it every single day. Back in 1999, and I started what was called the Amazing Woman movement, and launched the book series Amazing Woman, and launched programs called Amazing Woman's Day. And hard to imagine today, but back in 1999, women would call me and say, I really, really want to come to your program, but I just don't see myself as an amazing woman. How could I do that? And in interviews, when I was doing the interviews around these programs, the interviewer would always ask me, what does it take? What does it take to qualify to be an amazing woman? I think this is very prevalent and very important and very really vital that we talk about this today. Is that my answer was, they would ask me, what is it that, what does it take? Does it take a certain amount of income for them to be an amazing woman? Does it take a certain accomplishment or achievement? And I said, I really don't understand your question. I'm not being smart. I just really don't understand the question, because from the perspective of where I stand, every amazing woman is an amazing woman right now. There's nothing she has to do to prove it. There's nothing she has to do to achieve it. There's nothing she has to do to become it other than commit to stepping into the truth of all she is
and truly believing it.
Yes, and set free the creativity. And even if you don't believe it, there's times I step on stage and I'm like, I don't know, this is like a lot of shifts that have happened in my life, and I'm still embodying it, or still allowing it to integrate in. And here's what I would say about that. If we don't believe it, when you go out and you begin to study it, or you begin to speak it, or you begin to share it, or you begin to investigate it, or you begin to allow more of it into your life, slowly over time, it's not about having to make ourselves believe something. It's about, we recognize that we are describing and becoming something that we already are. I really want all of us, if you were to ask me, what would I love for women to remember today about the Amazing Woman Rise book? It's that you already are the amazing woman, and it's about rising into the awareness that she lives within you, and what parts of her have you neglected, diminished, set aside.
I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
That's exactly it. One of our mantras that we use often. That's exactly it. And I think that for so long, to speak to your point, for so long, my identity and many of our identities was based on my sense of accomplishment. And it is good. It does feel good to accomplish something. The truth is, it does feel good to see an idea for Amazing Woman Rise become the reality of a book we can hold in our hand. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a sacred experience of creativity becoming realized.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with that. But when my sense of accomplishment overrode the fullness of my heart, the fullness of my passions, the fullness of my drive and my inspiration to live a purposeful life and to share as much as I could with as many as I can, that's a different feeling. That's an in the moment experience of celebrating the amazing woman within me, the amazing woman within you. And we've all got her. We all have her, and she's just sometimes sitting over on the side waiting for us to realize that.
Hey, wait a minute, come on.
I think after today, that we're doing a good job today in lighting a fire, an inner fire of creativity and recognition.
Well, and comes down to trusting it and believing it, that it is possible, and that we're here for a reason. We have work to do. We have things that need to be done, and that we can step into understanding and accept how we are here to serve.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That just asking that question, how are we here to serve, reminds me, I have questions here that I prepared. Now, why we ask questions, from my perspective, is when we ask a question, the universe says, heads up, she's ready for an answer.
Mm.
Or we could say it another way. The moment we ask a question, our heart opens and says, let's inform her of a new perspective. Let's broaden her view of potentials. Let's open up new possibilities to her because now she's ready. She's asked the question. And that's like opening a door to new answers, new solutions, new ways of innovating, all kinds of greatness. So the first question we've really talked about is how can I serve, which is really where we have to start, is how can I serve? And that really ignites the desire. I mean, think about, what does that say to you? How am I willing to use my skills, my capacities? I coach a lot of healers that are having their healing capacities now show up in their world, and they're figuring out or asking, how can I turn this into something that will impact many?
Mm-hmm.
And that's many people probably listening right now. You've got that impulse to know that you're a healer, and how do you give structure and form and language to that so that the masses can understand and hear you and respond to you? So how can I serve is also, we could interpret it as a willingness to be of service. Now think about that for just a moment. Yeah. So it's not about, I have to achieve this in order to feel like I've served. That's not what we're saying. What I'm saying is the willingness to open up the conversation, just like when my feet hit the ground in Teotihuacan, Mexico, and I heard, create a day on which all women honor themselves. Marsh, you've been equipped your entire life to do exactly that. I didn't know what that meant, but I was willing to serve. I was willing to learn. I was willing to know. And, leaning into that open receptivity and, brings us to greater depth of awareness of how incredibly equipped we are in ways. I mean, literally a day does not pass now that I don't see something new that I denied before, by opening up and just saying, how can I serve? How can I serve? And the next question is, these are great questions. The next one is, what opportunities am I encountering to empower myself or another? So this is another way to point towards how can I serve, is let me just notice my life. Let me notice. I have great stories about being stopped on the street well before my books were published. True story, well before my books were published, being stopped on the street in Santa Monica asking for autographs because they thought I was that woman that wrote that series of books for women. And I had no books out. So I just said, they're like, aren't you that woman? Are you that woman? Can I have your autograph? Are you that woman that writes the books for women? And I said, probably. Yes, probably. I probably am. I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say yes, I probably am. I haven't done them yet, but yes, that must be where I'm headed. So what opportunities are there gifts, talents, capacities, skills that start to be noticed around you? But do people mention to you? You can even ask, how can I serve, and show me how I'm equipped.
Show me how I'm equipped, yes.
So we begin now to partner with the feminine heart in a way that opens us up to have a deeper understanding of what is being spoken. I want to say what she is speaking through us and wishes for us to recognize. Maybe it's forgotten skills and talents. I had squashed my intuitive gifts, squashed my capacities as a visionary.
We all have.
And the minute I said, how can I serve? Show me how I'm equipped. It was like, okay, you really want to know?
Do you really want to know this?
You really want to know? And it was like, I used to say to my mentors, what do I do with all of this that I can see? What do I do? And early on, I would just blurt out, what I was seeing. And then through time, I was able to finesse and learn ways, which is why I use questions a lot now in the coaching that I do. I find it very empowering. The next question is, this is a good one because it's a little bit confronting. What are you willing to see as a possibility? Okay. So this is letting go of the assumptions. Oh, that could never happen, or I don't feel like I'm equipped for that, or how could I ever, we've talked about the story. I've talked about it in media a lot, is that when I first started speaking, my little voice, I mean, literally, it was like my throat would close up. my throat would just get tight, and it was like hardly any breath would move through it. And if Spirit said, you're going to be a speaker on stage and you're going to be doing media and you're going to be like, all fired up and firing people up about the power of their creativity and the power of their ability to live a higher purpose, I would have said, are you out of your mind? There's no way.
I can
There's
remember
no
the
way.
first time I started speaking from stage, you could see all the way back across the farthest reaches of the auditorium, you could see my knees shaking.
So it's like, what are you so invested in?
Right.
And I, as she asks with love, but what are you so invested in that prevents you from seeing the possibilities that are before you?
Right.
And this is where,
Absolutely.
a conversation about assumptions. We've been taught to assume it takes a long time to get something to happen, or it takes a long, this is kind of a miracle book. It took 3 months to have it published. So I have it written and published. It's a re-release, but yet there was massive moving parts. So 3 months. So going back to my point is that we have this assumption that it's going to take a long time, or you have to have a lot of money, or you have to have a big following, or you have to have I just have a million stories that I could tell about assumptions when I first started, that how would that ever happen? That was my
Right.
big thing. How would that ever happen? And the better question is, how can I step aside and allow that to happen?
How can I? That's the better question.
How can I step aside and allow that to happen? How can I have the eyes to see the new possibilities before me? How can I open up the new potentials that are being shown to me? How can I find the brave and curious and creative and confident and courageous heart of the feminine to say, I'm willing to serve. I'm being guided in a direction that's taking me there. Let me be okay with that. Let me be okay with that. And maybe my humanity and not being absolutely perfect is what the gift is.
And how powerful is that? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So then what's the next question? Okay. After we get to these beautiful questions or powerful questions, takes some contemplation, I will say. But the next question is, where are you excelling? Where are you excelling today? Where have you excelled? But a better question is, what are you willing to take a stand for? Now, what that means to me when I say that, what am I willing to take a stand for, doesn't mean I'm going to go out and fight for it, although it might mean that I'm going to be an advocate for something that's calling to
Hmm.
me to be an advocate for. But it could also be, what am I willing to take a stand for? What gift is within me? What capacity is within me? What creative calling is speaking to me that is being not only pulled to me as the feminine would do, but also being pulled outward to give and share and experience and express with others. So, what am I willing to take a stand for? Am I willing to take a stand for those gifts and talents? Am I
Yes.
willing to take a stand for the voice of the wisdom that I know that moves through me that I don't understand? Back
And
in the
you,
early days, when I did a lot of speaking on stage back when we did a lot of speaking on stage before pandemic, I used to, a voice, a message would come through, and a beautiful statement of truth would come through, and I would stop and I would say, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? And I didn't mean that isn't what I said beautiful. I meant, isn't what just moved through me and into the room beautiful? And that
absolutely.
took some willing to stand for that,
It
because
does.
sometimes it's, I enjoy thinking I've got it all mapped out. And,
Don't we all? Just like,
and
I got to figure it out. No, I don't.
yeah, it's like I realized that I used to think I knew everything. Now I know nothing. And the more I lean into that, I open up to a deeper connection with the guidance and the understanding. Now, all of this we're talking about, Becky, is the feminine heart. It is
It
the
is.
feminine heart. And so when we talk about igniting the power of the feminine heart, what I want to say too, this is a great time to say it, is that igniting the power of the feminine heart, in 99, women were questioning whether they could be an amazing woman at an event. Today, we just became a bestseller in women and business with this book. That to me the significance of having a bestseller, that's nice, but the significance of having a bestseller in a category called Women and Business says to me, what is happening to our world of business?
It
And
is.
for me, that I am fired up. I've, had for many years, knew that I was moving in the direction of shifting the consciousness or the way we define success. That's when I came to me, the feminine success statement. I feel like feminine success is here now.
I do too. And I work with many authors, and many of them are women authors. And what they're bringing to the world is so incredible. And each one of them having their own special way of expression,
Yes,
totally different from me, totally different from you. And yet, the reaching hearts that need to be reached that will hear the message that comes just from them.
yes,
And it's
yes,
amazing. What an honor that I'm able to serve in that way and helping them
yes.
bring this to the world in the way that I'm able to.
Early on when I wrote the Amazing Woman books, the first series of books that I wrote were interviews that I did. I did interviews and wrote from the interviews. I called them transformational interviews. And the reason I called them transformational interviews is because the person I interviewed transformed before my eyes.
Yes.
But the person doing the interviewing transformed before her eyes.
That's right.
So there was this exchange of transformation that happened through the merging of just a sense of honor of one another, a sense of appreciation for one another, a sense of empathy and compassion for one another.
The actual hearing of those words.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and under the words.
Yes.
And I work, many of you know that I went into the firehouses of New York City right after 9/11 and spent quite a number of weeks, months with the amazing women of FDNY. And there's only 25 women that serve for the fire department of New York City out of 14,000 firefighters, 25 women. And the women that I had this great privilege and honor to study and interview and work with are the first 25. Let me just sit with that for a moment. So one of my sons went with me to New York. I was there for quite a number of weeks right after 9/11. And he said to me one day, he was quite young at the time, and he said to me, "Mom, I think these women are going to be in history books. They're making history." And I thought, isn't that the truth? But then I brought it into the perspective of, what if each and every one of us is making history?
Yes.
What if by igniting the power of the feminine heart, what if by following the impulses of that, following the truth that comes through, following the voice that wishes to be spoken, following the wisdom that is being shown to us, following the opportunities and the potentials, what if we start to follow that? And what if we make a sacred agreement today? We come into alignment with ourselves and say, today is the day that I will trust the infinite power of my feminine heart to show me, to reveal to me, to inform my actions, to inform new insights, to set me free with the gifts and the talents and ways I'm equipped that I've yet to even see or recognize or honor. What if that became our sacred agreement? Just simply, today I collaborate with sheer trust. Today
Beautiful.
I trust. And I want, be interesting to see what happens in your life and my life after this conversation, because we're speaking powerful affirmative thought that says, I'm willing to trust. I'm willing to see new possibilities. I'm willing to see my potentials that have been forgotten or dismissed. Or maybe they're just time to emerge. Maybe it's just time for it to emerge. Maybe we've always known it was there and we were waiting for the moment that it was to emerge.
Maybe for many, and even many that are listening to this, maybe it's the acceptance that it's there, that's truly there, and then the courage to say yes.
I once saw this great interview with an actor on Inside the Actor's Studio used to be my favorite show. It's not on the air anymore, but it was I don't think, but it was a brilliant show. And this actor was on this show being interviewed, and he was highly gifted, intuitive, and he said he grew up being told that he was making things up. So in the interview, he kept saying, I think this is true. Maybe I'm just making it up. And everybody would laugh because he had been conditioned to think that when he brought forth a depth of understanding or a new thought or a new way of communicating something, oh, you're just making that up. Now, I don't know if you experienced that when you were young, but I definitely experienced it when I was young. But here's the thing. Here's the kicker. It became my own mantra. Oh, Marsh, are you just making that up?
And that's exactly how I feel about, things that come to me. I'm like,
Are
where'd
you
that
just
come from?
making that
I'm
up?
making that up.
I don't know.
Is it
If
just
I
because I
am,
want it
it's
so
a really
much?
good, it's a really good idea to make up. If I am, it's a really good. And even today, I will. Sometimes when I'm quoting somebody, I'll say, "I'm either heard this, I read it, I wrote it, or I'm making it up right now." This is what I this is what I want to say, because the truth is, isn't everything made up? The truth
Yes.
is that everything, even the way we create our own identity, is based on stories we've been told, and then we start to make up stories based on that. And if we can step away and allow the feminine heart to begin to inform the storyline, inform the magnificence, inform the radiance, inform the joy, inform the passions, inform the skills and the abilities, and we allow the feminine heart to speak that, and then let's make our story up based on that, not the stories that we've been conditioned to believe.
Very beautiful. Well, I hate to do this. It's time to wind down this interview. We'll be back again later in the day to kind of wrap up this beautiful, fun day of all these interviews. So later this afternoon, let's see what time is that? At 3 Pacific, we'll be interviewing Marsh again. What a beautiful day. What a day to celebrate, because this book,
Yes, hold
uh,
that book up again. That is gorgeous. And I love the
amazing.
cover is glossy.
Yes,
The
it's
others have been, I don't have one of the books, everyone. So you know that Becky has a book, but I don't have one in my hand. I hope to have one in my hand by tomorrow or later today. I
well,
love it. I
it's
love,
fascinating and beautiful. And this cover, the moment you showed it to me, I was just like,
we
it's
have to go with it.
breathtaking.
But also, I want to say that writing this book created the biggest transformation within me of any of the books that I have written. Maybe some of the early ones when I was first starting out, that was a big transformational time. But this one had me diving in. When you take on a conversation and the conversation is, what is, how do I define, how do I connect with the infinite power of the feminine heart? What the universe says is, let's show her what that is. So it
Right.
took me deeper and deeper. And I believe those words will do that for every single reader. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to bring it forth in the world. And so amazingly grateful for all of you that have bought the book, ordered the book, support the work, getting the word out, and helping us create that radiant ripple effect that is
Absolutely.
transforming lives.
Very,
Yeah.
very cool. So here's the book. We have all the links below, but if you walk away from this and later come back and say, I want to get that book, just type in Amazing Woman Rise or Marsh Engle, and it'll come right up on your search in Amazon. Marsh, this has been delightful, and I feel totally blessed because I get to meet all these women that have been contributing authors, and I'm just
Oh
loving
my
this.
gosh, that's what let me not overlook the fact that the transformation that I experienced was working with and reading the words that had been written by the women that are in the book.
Yes.
When I take on a book of this nature and we take on the subject, my role is to investigate and learn and study and allow the voices of a multitude of different expressions to come through. So it's not my expression, it's a multitude of, I don't know, I think we have about 30 women in the book that brought their voices in all different shapes and forms, all speaking the feminine heart, but
That's
speaking it in their language. And they're beautiful, powerful leaders, they're community leaders, they're coaches, they're spiritual teachers, they're healers, they're every walk of life, they're CEOs, creative directors, I mean, artists, I could go on, but it's in a collective mix of voices all speaking to the power of the feminine heart, but in their own unique and incredibly powerful way.
So beautiful. Thank you. Yes, it's been fascinating to hear each woman with a different take on it, but they're all saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you. And we will be back later. We have a bunch more interviews yet today. So we'll see you at 3 again, Marsh, and just enjoy every moment of this day.
And Becky, I want to say I honor you for what you're creating for us, this vessel of,
thank you.
of expression. I'm really grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Go and celebrate. Thank you.